I would like to take a moment before we get into today's main episode and to talk about my sponsor for the podcast. Podmatch is a new podcasting site dedicated to all podcasters. The platform helps hosts get connected with potential guests to appear on their show, as well as allow guests to find podcasts that will give them a chance to share their story. Podmatch offers many tools to help organize your page, from to-do lists to episode planning to potentially appearing on a leaderboard. Podmatch has it all. The best part, you have the potential to get paid. And who doesn't like to get paid from home? I like to. With an easy sign up, you can start connecting with podcasters and guests immediately. I have been a part of Podmatch since the beginning of May, and I have got to say that it was the best decision I've ever made because Podmatch helps your podcast grow. It helps you get connected with people that have very interesting, very compelling background stories that are just waiting for their story to be shared. So if you are a host or guest and would like to start building professional relationships, explore more opportunities, and have your story shared, I highly suggest that you sign up with Podmatch today by going to joinpodmatch.com/lethal venom to start expanding your network in seconds. I would like to give another huge thank you to Podmatch for sponsoring this episode. Now on to our main episode, and again, you can sign up at joinpodmatch.com/lethal venom to begin your podcasting journey today. Hello everyone, welcome to the Lethal Venom Podcast, the show where I talk about anything I want with the honest to God truth no lies told. Today's guest is Dr. Larry Smith. He is a seasoned advocate for addiction recovery and is the author of Embracing the Journey of Recovery, From Tragedy to Triumph and Johnnie and Me, Facing the Voice of Alcohol Within. His forthcoming novel, 2084, The Neuroxin Conspiracy, is a medical thriller that asks a chilling question. What happens when Big Pharma controls recovery and erases abstinence-based approaches? With 26 years in recovery, Larry blends lived experience with bold storytelling, offering audiences both hope and hard truths. His perspective brings authenticity, vulnerability, and deep personal insight to every conversation. Dr. Larry, thank you so much for coming on. I can't wait to hear your story today.
Thanks for having me, Noah.
Can I introduce yourself and feel free to tell my listeners a little bit more about what you do.
Uh, well, I'll start from the beginning. Uh, I My career was a chiropractor. I did that for 36 years. I had my first adjustment when I was 11 years old, but that also, at that time in my life, I had major events happen. 11 years old is when I first got drunk, and 11 years old is when I was abused by a priest. And I also scored my first touchdown and my first goal in football and my first goal in hockey. So a lot of stuff happened in there, good stuff and not so good stuff, and it kind of shaped the person I became. There's been a lot of journeys on that way. So it's from age 11 on, I was always interested in chiropractic, always interested in sports. Went to the University of Manitoba for 5 years, did gymnastics before then, football, hockey, baseball, that type of thing, and became a chiropractor. But at the same time, the hidden secret underneath was I was abusing alcohol and mood altering chemicals and didn't really think that I had a problem, or if I did, I couldn't be that bad because I was performing well. I was doing well in athletics, doing well in school. I couldn't possibly have a problem. And unfortunately, that kept me locked in the disease for a long, long period of time. So it wasn't until I quit it completely that I could a new growth could start, and it's a spiritual transformation, and that's where I'm coming from in recovery. We can get onto that a little bit later, but it wasn't until I admitted complete defeat, complete vulnerability. I needed help, and I asked for help, and I accepted help. Now, what I'm trying to do is pass it on to others. So that's a brief summary of what's going on for me.
Wow, that's very impactful. When you were 11, what kind of explain what happened when you first tried alcohol for the first time? Was it something that started your addiction to alcohol?
Oh yeah. Uh, My parents weren't really too much drinkers. Mom didn't drink at all, maybe a drink every 5 years, and Dad would okay he'd have a few beer a week is around the house. But I guess we had company over one night, and they had the hard alcohol was there, and I always saw alcohol. I wondered what it would like to get drunk. So I was curious uh, as a youngster, what would it be like? So I saw a big bottle of white rum in the kitchen and it was unguarded. And I thought, oh, should I do this? Because I really want to feel what it likes to get drunk. So I'm gonna have to sneak some booze in here and let's see what happens. So I took about 4 or 5 guzzles, and it was the most worst tasting stuff in my that I've ever tasted in my life. And then I finished it off with some Coke because it tasted so bad, and I'm feeling this awful taste in my throat, and then all of a sudden, this burning in the stomach, and then the magic happened, Noah. I went from 0 to 100,000 feet in 3 seconds, and it was just like, wow, this is the best feeling in my life ever. I love how this feels. It felt warm and fuzzy and confident, and I was going to be a professional football player, and I was going to do all these things, and I had to tell my friends how wonderful I felt. So from that moment on, I think it was like almost an instant addiction to alcohol, and later it was going to be any mood altering chemicals that felt like alcohol. So that's where it started. I don't think the background wasn't there from the parents. They weren't abusing alcohol, but once I tasted it and I got the buzz, wow, I was hooked. And the inevitable happened. That great feeling of being drunk eventually went into the background. I started getting sick and dizzy and throwing up and the worst headache ever. And the next morning I said, if I survive this, I'm never going to drink again. And it took me 30 years before that happened because I was trying to negotiate. Maybe if I have one or two or three or four, but it never worked that way. I'm one of the type, I can't have any. And my mother told me that when I was a teenager. Of course, I wouldn't listen to her because she didn't know anything. Parents never know anything until you're older. So that was how the journey started. I guess I was destined once I felt it to seek out alcohol and mood altering chemicals.
What was the moment that made you realize that you did have a serious problem and um you thought to yourself, I need to get help and started the recovery process?
I guess there were several moments, but the problem was they were fleeting. I guess I would have been middle university years. I was on the gymnastics team, and I was really wasted one night, and I called the um, 12-step hotline. I said I really needed to do something about my drinking, but of course I was drunk at the time. And so the next day, these two nice men came over and basically they had a chat with me. And I said, I want to find out if I'm an alcoholic. And so they're smiling at each other, going, well, chances are if you're calling us, you're having trouble, you probably are, but we can't make the decision. You have to find out for yourself. But they said something profound to me. Okay, now you got drunk last night. I understand. I says, yeah, yeah. He says, well, which one got you drunk? So I'm thinking along, I'm going, was it the fifth or the sixth or the seventh? And I'm going, it was probably the sixth. And this man says to me, no, what drink got you drunk? The first. If you didn't take the first drink, you would not get drunk. That stuck with me, even though I didn't get into recovery for years after that. It had planted the seed. So the moving on, recovery in earnest wasn't started until I could accept that fact, and that came. Uh, there's two periods where I was in a recovery center, and basically dragged in one time by a woman, one time by a man, and the basic thing I said to them, "Do you really think I'm that bad?" Everybody else, the whole world could see I had a problem, but I thought, no, no, I'm running a business. I do marathons. I can't be an alcoholic. I can't have a drug problem. It's uh, I just have to cut down a little bit. So once I got there, and basically there's no booze available, there's no drugs available, you dry out and go through the most horrible withdrawal where you're wanting to die. Uh, I think that's where recovery started, and I can go into that in further detail, but that's in a nutshell what happened is seed was planted, and then actually being told by others that I had a problem, and then finally, without the booze in my system and the drugs in my system, I realized that I did needed help, serious help, or I was going to die, or worse. Worse means living disabled or not with your full cognitive capabilities, liver problems, etc.
Everyone tends to have a different story about when they go into recovery. Some people say that they had a good recovery system, and then others say that they had a really bad experience. Tell me, did you have a difficult experience when you went to a recovery center where did you have good staff? What was it like being in a recovery center?
Very, very good question. So, um, both times I would say it was a good experience, and the good experience was is that I was having to do all sorts of things that I didn't want to do. It's like sitting around in a group and talking to people about my vulnerabilities. That was the one thing I just couldn't stand. I had to take the mask off and then show who I really was. So if you're asking good experience, bad experience, it's all relative, but I would say it changed my life. And the other experience I had too was I'm talking about, counselors, and we're talking about groups, but I had a one-on experience with a young man. He was about 20 years old, and I was about ready to give up and die. And I felt like I was in the ocean swimming. It was cold. I was lonely. I couldn't see land in sight. Just take me. I don't want to be here anymore. And that young man, it wasn't what he said, but it was just his energy says, you can do this. I've been through this. You're going to get better. Can you trust me on that? And it was that moment he gave me that little thread to hang on to. He says, you know what? I'm going to trust you. I'm going to try today, and then I'm going to try tomorrow. He says, that's all we ask you to do. So from that point on, I said it wasn't easy, but I was willing to try. Versus before that experience happened, I just I couldn't take it anymore. So overall, if you're asking me a good or bad experience, I think it's life-changing experience. But with life-changing experience, a lot of bad things happen because you have to face what you did in the past. And I still, 26 years later, I'm thinking about the stuff that I did, and I'm just cringing, holding my head, going, "Oh my God, I did that." And there's so many things, and that I've regretted. But it happened. I can't change it, but what I can do is live my best life today and help other human beings. So I hope that answered the question there.
Do you ever have stayed in contact with any of the people that you met when you were in recovery, or do you still kind of keep tabs about what they're doing now?
Yeah, I've got a few close friends. There's three close friends. Unfortunately, two of them have passed on, not from their disease, but from they got old and got something and died. And they're just wonderful people. One was actually a mentor. He worked at the treatment center, and I got to be friends after. And actually, he is the one who inspired me to write the book 2084, The Neuroxone Conspiracy, as he's the one telling me that I think the pharmaceutical industry is hijacking the recovery system. And the other fellow, he was with me in the beginning. I was afraid to go out to support group meetings, and he would come, he would pick me up. He says, "Come on, we can do this. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay." And we stayed friends for a long time. And we played golf together. We went and did things together. And then there's an actual one person who I'm still in contact with. We go to the same support group every Wednesday. And that's a person I look up to. I relapsed the first time through he got it. I relapsed and stayed 2 years out there until I went back in recovery, and he supported me while I was coming back because I had a lot of things that I needed to get off my chest, and he's been kind of rock solid person for me. So yes, I've kept in contact with people, and unfortunately, some that I went through with who helped me a lot have passed on from their disease, if we want to call it that, or whatever we choose to call it, disease or disorder. And others I've lost contact with. But the thing is, if you do reach out, there's always somebody there. And I think it's important for me to pass on what was freely given to me.
Did writing kind of help you cope and was kind of therapeutic to what your past struggles were?
Absolutely, writing. That was something that I really enjoyed in high school and university. Got kind of turned off in university with a university professor, but it was 2006, 2007 when I wrote Embracing the Journey. And the thing was, I thought I was doing well, but I was still hiding who I was. I said, and I worried, what are people going to say? I felt the shame. So I said, if I write this and out myself, tell my story, that will free all the demons. So that was number one, the actual writing process itself. But secondly, getting it off my chest. Here's who I am. You can't hold this over my head. And there were others, without getting into names or who they were going to tell my secret. So that's what writing did for me. Hi, Nana. You're a good girl. Yes, you're good. You go play.
So when you were writing one of your first books, did you have the idea of, you know what, I want my life to be kind of as a publishing author, or was it kind of something that just kind of took off and was something that you're like, okay, well, if this is what I was meant to do, then I'll give it a try.
Um, I knew I wanted to write the book, and I thought I could do two careers at once. And I was a chiropractor, and I wrote the book, I published it, and I was doing, back then it was like radio stuff and writing, which I did a lot of. But then I realized I can't do both jobs at once. So I kind of let the writing go and let that just fizzle out. It was something that I thought, oh, maybe I'll get back to it when I retire. And 2 years before I retired, I guess, or even before then, COVID was happening, and I thought I need something extra to release the stress because I'm in practice and people are looking to me to calm them down, and everybody's under extreme stress with all the restrictions and mandates. And so I read an ad on Facebook of a man he was an author, and he was offering a course, stress relief through writing. And it was mainly for physicians, healthcare professionals, uh, and such. And I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to try this because I think it would be good for me. So I had a chat with him, and we really clicked. And I thought, well, I'm gonna just go through with this. And so he would give me writing assignments, and I started writing again. And of course, I started writing about recovery things since it was um, dear to my heart that I do that. And he would critique it. He would give me reading to do it. So that kind of got me going on it. And I maybe got 15 or 20 stories together from about 2022 to 2023, 24. And then I decided I was going to retire. I'm sorry, it was back in 23 when I retired. I said, you know what? Maybe I should write another book. I says, I don't know how I can do it, but now I got the time. That would be a good retirement project because then I'll have time to really put my heart and soul into it. And so that's where how Johnny and Me was born, basically from that process. I had all the stories. I know I wrote a few more and I stitched them all together. And I used the voice of alcohol and called it Johnny. And there was basically Larry's talking and Johnny's talking back to him. Larry says he doesn't want to drink. Johnny says, just take one or two. It won't hurt you. Have I ever hurt you before? So this went on for the whole book. Johnny was my nemesis. So I thought, nah, that's going to be my hook. It'll be something I don't know it was necessarily totally original, but I hadn't seen it done before. And I thought it was fun writing because the more I write about Johnny, what a nasty character. Evil, malevolent entity is what I call him. And as long as I don't let him in, he cannot harm me. But as soon as I let him in past my lips into my mouth, I am doomed, and he will own me once again. So that's basically how I got started with the writing. It was yeah, 2007 was to get it off my chest, and then the retirement project, and then it's kind of taken off from there. And I really didn't want to be as busy as I am. I thought I was going to have a nice, relaxing retirement, but here I am, uh, doing podcasts and writing, and but I really enjoyed it. I love meeting people like such as yourself and telling a story, hearing different ideas, and everybody's got a story to tell, and I know I learned so much from this experience, so I'm going to keep on doing it.
Well, I love the book title Johnny and Me. I think as you had mentioned, it's something that's not been, it's probably not something new or something that it's probably happened before, and it's not something groundbreaking. However, not a lot of people usually tend to give alcohol a name. So I think it's a good idea for marketing purposes, and I think it's a good idea for you to kind of be able to tell a person off that's from the past. I think it's a good play on words, and I think that it shows that it's that alcohol is just like a person. They're bad people in the world, and people act really bad and can be real nasty towards others. I think it's a good way to kind of classify alcohol as a writer. What's one major misconception people have when it comes to writing and publishing?
Misconception. I think it is, or at least from my point of view, is that you have to follow a certain formula. I think you have to find what is right for you. How can you write every day? And for me, I do journal writing. I let it free flow. I haven't had writer's block. I sometimes get stuck with sentences. So that would be the misconception is that you can't overcome writer's block, and you have to follow a certain formula. And as far as publishing, fortunately, I had a connection back in 2007. I thought I could never get published. I think you just have to find the publisher that suits you. And yes, it is difficult, and they only accept a number of uh, manuscripts. But I think it's a matter of writers. You talk in your unique own voice and present it to several publishers. Someone's going to resonate with what you're writing about, and they're going to be willing to take you on and publish your works. So that's what I would say from my perspective. Mm.
You've released two books, and now you have a third one, 2084, the Neuroxin Conspiracy. Share a little bit more about what this book is and what can readers expect when they pick the book up and read it for themselves.
Okay, good question. Excuse me. First two books are nonfiction, experiential. Can't guarantee 100% accuracy, but it's from my what I remembered and or what I thought happened. 2084, the Neuroxon Conspiracy. Basically, why I chose 2084 is from 1984, George Orwell, dystopia. So we're going to have a dystopian medical thriller where we're into the future to 2084, and basically the drug addiction crisis, of course, is getting worse, which is what we're seeing every day here. And so what's happened? I decided I would invent a new drug. Excuse me. And I combined with a little bit of my science background here. It's called an agonist called Suboxone, and then there's a neurological drug called Neurontin or gabapentin. Put that together, Neuroxone. So it's just a stronger version of Suboxone. And what it does, it erases the desire for people to drink or use, and that ends up being the only cure for alcoholism and drug addiction because there's such a crisis. You're not allowed to use everything else. And what they don't say though is the side effects that happen after 5 years. So big pharma takes over, the government goes along with it because it's a convenient cure, and we have the abstinence-based groups trying to hang on. It's been working for them for years, and all of a sudden they're being erased by the new medication. And it is character driven. I have, as I say, the character Dr. Berger was based on my friend who has passed on, who was really a strong influence on me. And yeah, the characters are very, very strong. And even the evil character, Dr. Stanton, the head of the big pharma company called Superior Pharmaceuticals, it's almost a not quite Richard Sackler. He's but in that same line of Richard Sackler and Purdue Pharma.
Where do you expect your writing career to go from now? Do you plan on continue writing, or are there other things that you would like to maybe do that you haven't had the chance to accomplish yet?
For writing, it's a good question. I'm kind of that's how the novel was written. It says I need to go fiction, but I need to know something I'm comfortable with. So whatever I'm going to decide to write about, it's going to be something I feel strong at the heart with. Heart to heart connection, and that could take place in any form. It could be a love story, it could be a war story, but as long as there's a connection between two characters and interacting with the world, you're going to have evil forces and you're going to have good forces. I'd like to go along that line, and it's I haven't quite addressed it further, no, but I am sure that it will come when the right idea comes in my head. I will get on it, and I'm like a dog with a bone. Once I get the idea, I'm writing all the time. That's what happened with the last book. It was almost an obsession. I had to put things down. I was staying up late at night, driving myself crazy. So, but that's usually the sign that it's the right idea.
What's been who's been some of the best people that you've considered to be role models for you that have really been that have stuck by your side and have really been supportive of you through this whole recovery and now author journey?
Supportive people. It's number one is my partner, Lori. We've been together. I've been sober 26 years, and Lori and I have been together for about just over 25 years. So she would be number one in my corner. There's a lot of people within the recovery program who I'll get to, but Lori was there not from day one, but from about 6 to 9 months on. She was actually a patient of mine, and this is back in the days years ago. She asked me out to lunch, and, and even back then, you're kind of not supposed to do this. And I said, well, it'll be safe as long as nothing happens here. And then we got interested in each other. I said, well, that's it. I have to. You can't be my patient anymore. Now you couldn't do that at all. But back then it was a lot different. But what I found out through her was she was also in pain. I was recovering. I was a wounded person, and when she first met me, she liked me, liked my services as a chiropractor, but she says you appeared wounded. Then I found out she was wounded because her husband had committed suicide uh, the previous year, and she had four small children, raising them all by herself. So um, here you have two wounded people helping each other. So we have been through a lot together, especially the kids. They were range in age was from that at that time was 6 to 14, and it wasn't fun in the early days because their father had just died. But we based it on friendship and heart to heart connection. I would share my recovery um, story with her. She would share with how she was feeling. So she'd be number one in my corner, and we still communicate, like I say, on a heart to heart base. I have to practice my program, and if I'm not rigorously honest or holding back, she will be on me. It's uh, without that, I could if I were on my own, I would probably tend to hide things. Here, I can't. So no, I just okay. I'm open. If I'm not feeling good about something, I will just tell her, even though she may not like what I'm saying. But far better to be honest. And for me, that's one of the keys to recovery is don't hold it in, let it out. And that's what I had done in my in the years of my drinking. And that's 30 long years of hiding things. So yeah, Lori would be number one. And then there are the people I hung around with from my support group. Number one from the treatment center, and secondly in the Wednesday group that I've been attending. It's nice to know that somebody is there in times of need, and I have been on the phone when things have happened where I'm concerned, I'm anxious, I'm stressed. I had a both my parents have gone, and I needed at the time when they were dying, and when they finally passed on, I needed somebody to talk to, and I had one, two, three, four, five, six people I could call, and then if they weren't available, there were other people that I also knew I could call. So it's I have people that are close, and then I have people that I can call upon when needed, and vice versa. Uh, you don't necessarily have to be besties, but I get calls from people. They just need a little um, reassurance that they're going to be okay.
Well, I think that's just amazing that you've had the journey that you have had and have endured, that you have this huge center of support that a lot of people tend to not really have. Not everyone has the support that they should have. Um, what advice would you give to someone who is at the beginning of their recovery journey but feels overwhelmed by the road ahead and maybe think that it's going to be too hard? What advice do you have for them?
Um, Find one person, maybe two people that you can share openly with. If you can do that, that will be a good start. Because I've seen too much the other way. Some people are blabbing to everybody they're in recovery, this, that, and the other. And quite frankly, I don't think you want to be telling everybody. Some understand, some don't understand. So I think it's finding the person that will listen to you. They will be your confidant, and they will offer you advice. And if they don't know what to do, they will say, I don't know what's going on, but I know somebody who can help you. So I think if you can get those connections with someone you can absolutely trust, and that, granted, does take a while, uh, but you do have to trust somebody eventually. Because if you're holding stuff in and not letting it go, uh, it's really hard on you. And I was just go back to my partner Lori, her young son at a young age he learned basically he blurted out one day, if you don't talk about stuff that's bothering you, you could die. And that's always stuck with me. I don't know how old he was at the time, but he was a pretty young boy, but he had that figured out. And I'm so glad, because when he needed to, he talked to his mom. And I thought it warms my heart that there's a trust there. Of course, all the stuff that goes with it. When it comes down to it, those two, wow, I just privileged to see family in action with that. So make your confidence part of your family. There's your given family and your chosen family. So find somebody that you can talk to, and that includes the health professionals. It's a little different story, but you should be able to, I mean, they have to remain confidential, but you should be able to say anything to your health professionals without fear of repercussions and reprisals.
That's such a powerful quote, and for that to come from a child, if a kid speaks of a really poignant phrase, it's more than likely will stick with you for the rest of your life. So I think that's a really powerful quote. Um, if you could go back and talk to your younger self, before everything that had happened, what advice would you give your younger self about what is in store for him when it comes to his future career?
Oh boy, if I am now looking back at that young boy, I'm going to say, Larry, you're going to have an incredible journey, but it's not going to all be good, but it's gonna turn all right. Just be real, but don't hold it in. Share your feelings. Enjoy all the enjoy all the triumphs and the victories, but when you're having pain, feel the pain, express the pain, and ask people for help. That's what I would say to my young self. It's okay that you show you're vulnerable and in pain. Trust, and it's still going to be painful, but you're going to get through. Remember, there's always hope. And remember, you're going to get through this. You're a lot stronger than you think. And I would pass that message on to people I see now, be they age 11 or to at age 80, if they're having trouble. You're stronger than you think. You just need that little bit of push. And that's from my mentors in the life too, about ready to quit. I'm doing marathon running and it's happened almost every race. I can't do this. Someone running beside me, come on, let's go, buddy, let's go. Just little boosts like that. And in recovery and during life, come on, we can do this. Because I can't go further. Well, let's just get to the end. And the same thing with in life. I don't want to get up out of bed. Come on, get up, get moving. You're allowed to feel bad, but you have to do something today. So that's what I would go with.
Well, Larry, I appreciate you so, so much for coming on and sharing this story with me. And I know that a lot of people that are listening will, if they know someone that's struggling with alcohol and um, needs recovery, or someone that's in recovery that's hearing this, will feel very motivated to continue to get clean and will get the help that they need. Um, if anyone wants to get connected with you and if they would like to follow your journey, feel free to plug everything that you have, where people can find your book and just kind of where people can really get in contact with you and connect with you.
I guess first would be the website, drlarrysmithauthor.com. And I'll give you my personal email. It's drlarr@shaw.ca. And as far as books are going, best way is to buy from my website, but they're available on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles and almost any bookstore. If you want to order it, you can get in. You can get it in there.
I will put off his links in the description box below. So if you would like to follow him as well as purchase any of the books and would like to just continue to get updates about Larry and what he has going on, I'll put the links down there so it's easy access for you guys. Feel free to follow me on social media as well, Instagram and TikTok at Lethal Venom Podcast, as well as Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Noah's Podcast. And as always, listen to Lethal Venom wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm on all the major platforms: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Pandora. It's everywhere, so feel free to follow the show so that you'll be notified of when new episodes come out, so you'll be first to hear it. Thank you to everyone for tuning in today's episode. Hope y'all have a great rest of your day. Be safe, make good decisions, and I'll see you on the next episode of Lethal Venom.